Hey everyone, Mr. Sujano here, your source for gaming, tech, emulation, and open source news. Let's get started. Alright, to kick things off, yes, I'm still camping. Yes, it's actually a nice gorgeous day. It's not near as humid as it was yesterday. The rain has stopped and the sun is trying to come out. It's a real nice morning and a great morning for a walk and to talk about some news. So first up here, we're talking about Nintendo, and it turns out that Nintendo is not doing as good as a lot of people thought. Apparently their year-over-year profits are down 70%. Now they say video game sales were down about 46% compared to last year, most notably because Tears of the Kingdom dropped in Q1 of last year, which I think makes complete sense. And Nintendo also shared the same sentiment. They thought that made sense because Tears of the Kingdom was such a huge hit. Now, interestingly here, one of the other reasons that profits were down was the rise of selling general and administrative expenses. And I'm wondering if they factor in legal expenses into the administrative or general expenses. I mean, it seems like they've been spending a lot on their legal teams, and I'm wondering if this has impacted things. Maybe not, but who knows? This might also explain why Nintendo has been so vigilant on taking down Nintendo Switch emulators. I mean, if the Switch 2 can be emulated just like the Switch 1, they would need the Switch 2 to be a huge success just so that they can probably make back the money that they didn't make this year. Let me know your thoughts about this whole situation in the comments below. Now, on a side note though, it is worth pointing out that video game sales in general and just the gaming industry seems to be down as a whole since after COVID. So this is kind of par for the course, I would say, in comparison with a lot of other companies out there, but I could be wrong. But moving on, and next up we're talking about THQ. And yesterday THQ had a huge showcase of a whole bunch of different games and a lot of surprises. Now I'm going to be quiet just for a second here because I can see the heron that evaded us yesterday, and let's see if we can get a better look at it. So among the games that were showcased were Wreckfest 2, Gothic 1, and also a brand new Darksiders. Yes, they're making a brand new Darksiders. Now, unfortunately, I don't have more information about the Darksiders game, and I don't know the price, I don't know the release date, but I'm hoping it's going to turn out okay, and I think a lot of people are going to be excited about it. Now, Gothic 1, on the other hand, I know when it was initially unveiled, a lot of people were not really happy with how it looked overall, and I'm hoping again that this game is going to be turned around. And as for Wreckfest 2, I mean, Wreckfest 1 was pretty fun. I enjoyed it quite a bit, and a lot of people seem to still enjoy it quite a bit. So I'm hoping Wreckfest 2 is even better, but I guess we'll have to wait and see. I'll drop trailers to all of those in the description below, and feel free to check them out. And let me know your thoughts on those 3 games, as well as any of the games that THQ showcased that I didn't even talk about. But moving on, and next up we're talking about Game Informer. Now, you may remember Game Informer from back in the day as a magazine. You may remember visiting their website, or you may not remember them at all. If you don't, let me know. But anyways, Game Informer used to be massive in the industry. And they've recently announced, in fact they announced yesterday, that they're closing shop after 33 years. This is a huge loss in my opinion. And talking about a huge loss, I don't know if you can see this here, but it seems like someone did not have a good time casting their fishing lure. There's a bobber floating in the trees. Moving on, and we're quickly talking about Intel. Now, we've talked about Intel a lot over the last few weeks, over the last month or so, just due to their 13th and 14th generation CPUs and the issues they've been having. Well, apparently the customers have also been thinking about Intel, and also investors, and Intel stocks have reportedly dropped 30% overnight ahead of some lawsuits. So you may or may not have known this, but Intel is reportedly getting hit with a major class action lawsuit about their whole Raptor Lake chips. The stock drop of 30% was roughly $39 billion of the company's operating value, which is a huge hit to Intel. I mean, they were worth quite a bit, they're still worth quite a bit, and 30% being $39 billion, well, that is also quite a bit. Honestly, I can't really say that the lawsuit was unexpected. I mean, Intel was knowingly selling chips that may have a big issue. They were refusing to issue a recall on them, and instead just trying to treat the ones that may or may not have issues. And this is not a good look for Intel, especially on the eve of them dropping a brand new chip. So let me know your thoughts about this entire situation in the comments below, and I'll drop a link to all of this stuff in the comments below as well, because at the end of the day, if you've got a 13th or 14th generation Intel CPU, the more information you know, I would say, is better. Oh, and on a side note here, Intel also announced they were laying off 15,000 people, which may have also contributed to the stock price going down. That is a lot of people to be laying off all at once. That's a huge amount of people. I don't know what's going on over at Intel, but things are not looking good. But moving on, and next up we're talking about a brand new indie game for the Game Boy Color, and this one looks really cool. It's a puzzle game. Apparently there's like 80 levels, and the game is called Unearthed. It's up over on itch.io if you wanted to check it out. And if you like it and wanted to pick up a physical copy of it, Limited Run Games is also selling a bundle. In my opinion, pricing on this one is super reasonable. I mean, the physical version is selling for, I think, $50, or at least up for pre-orders for $50. And the digital version is name your own price, so whatever you feel like paying. This is a pretty cool initiative. I'm a big fan of new games for older systems, especially new indie games for older systems. But moving on, and next up we're talking about something that I find super cool and super interesting, and maybe you will too. Super Mario 64, but for the Sega Dreamcast, because apparently someone is crazy enough to port the game over, and I would argue the game looks better than it did on the Nintendo 64, which I guess should be no surprise here. I've got no release date just yet for this one, but I'll drop a link to the tweet in the description below if you wanted to see some of the game in action. And speaking about new stuff and old stuff in videos, next up here, this one's pretty interesting. If you remember back in, I think, 1990, well, it says it in the description of the video, so it's not, I think it did come out back in 1990, and that is X-Out. And now they're making X-Out Resurfaced, and this is an underwater shmup. I'll drop a link to the trailer in the description below, and feel free to check it out. Unfortunately, I've got no information on release date or really anything else just yet, but it does look pretty neat. And speaking about pretty neat, last up here we're talking about Xbox 360 emulation with an application that's been taking the Xbox 360 emulation scene by storm, and that is Xenia Manager. Xenia Manager, however you want to pronounce Xenia or Xenia, or subscribe to Mr. Sujano. It's entirely up to you. Anyways, here it just got a brand new update to add in even more features. So at the time of filming, Xenia Manager version 1.9.0 is the latest update. They've added scroll bars to the UI to make scrolling easier if you don't have a mouse. And they've also added in support for NetPlay builds. Xenia Manager was designed to make the whole Xbox 360 emulation experience a lot easier, more straightforward, and a lot clearer. And I think they've done just that. The feedback that I've gotten from Xenia Manager has been very good. Let me know your thoughts if you've used Xenia Manager in the comments below and what you want to see from it moving forward. But anyways, that is all I've got for you in this one. Straight to the point, all stuff and no fluff. We talked about a bunch today. Let me know your thoughts about absolutely any of it in the comments below. If you liked this video, leave a like. If you didn't like this video, leave a like. Hit that subscribe button, check out my other videos. Don't tempt fate, save your state.